It's 2020 and people are still disrespecting Matt Ryan. Shocking, I know, but true. After all these years, you'd think people would finally come around and appreciate him for the great quarterback that he is. Yes, great, not good. But of course, that's asking for too much. Matt Ryan did not just have one good year. He has consistently been one of the league's best at the position despite playing in an era with the greatest amount of prolific passers. He has even undeniably been the top guy for a period. It's a shame that his team's failures get thrown onto him. ESPN's Bomani Jones is the one that got this discussion going again the other day. He, among others, claimed that Ryan has only been great, or a top 5 quarterback, 1 year. That's just simply not true, and anyone who thinks otherwise just hasn't been paying attention. Since entering the NFL in 2008, Matt Ryan has ranked in the top 5 of QBR leaders 5 times. He was first in his MVP season of 2016 with a 79.6 QBR. He ranked 3rd in 2008 and 2010, and he was 5th in both 2011 and 2017. On top of that, he also ranked 6th place 2 more times, in 2012 and 2013. The only times he's ranked outside the top 10 are 2009 and 2019, when he was 11th and 14th respectively. If you look at PFF grades, you'll find similar results. Again, he graded out as a top 5 quarterback 5 separate times. His 92.2 grade in 2016 was 2nd. He followed that up with a grade of 88.3 in 2017, which was good for 3rd in the league. He finished 5th in 2011, 2012, and 2014. He's been a top 10 quarterback for 9 of his 12 seasons in the NFL per PFF. More advanced statistics like expected points added per play show the same. Ryan finished in the top 5 of EPA 5 times once again. He landed in the top 5 in success rate in 2012 and every year from 2015 to 2018, including back-to-back number 1 finishes in 2016 and 2017. He's landed in the top 5 of CPOE rankings 3 times and the top 10 9 times. As for standard completion percentage, he's been in the top 5 4 times and top 10 8 times. Whatever measurement you go by, you will find that Matt Ryan has been one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league for the majority of his career, not just 1 year. But speaking of that one great year though, it was indeed outstanding. In 2016, Kyle Shanahan unleashed the true Matt Ryan for the world to see. But even without Shanahan the next year, however, Ryan still had an elite year by every rate statistic. Shanahan just brought out the volume stats. In 2016, Ryan led the league in nearly every single meaningful category, and by a mile in some cases too. As mentioned before, he was number 1 in QBR and passer rating. His mark of 117.1 ranked 6th best in league history. Ryan was second to Aaron Rodgers in touchdown passes with 38 to his 40, but he did edge him out in touchdown percentage, 7.1 to 6.6. He was second in yards to Drew Brees, just narrowly missing out on a 5,000-yard season, but he won all the rate stats. His yards per attempt mark of 9.3 was over a full yard better than Tom Brady's second place of 8.2. His adjusted yards per attempt of 10.1, his net yards per attempt of 8.25, and his adjusted net yards per attempt of 9.03 also all led the league. He also completed the hat trick of leading the league in all 3 advanced analytics categories of EPA with a mark of 0.37, success rate with a mark of 0.54, and CPOE with a mark of 7.6. It was not merely a great year, it was a historic year. He was named first-team All-Pro and League MVP and had a dominant postseason, which he finished with a 90.5 QBR and 88.7 PFF grade. He completed over 70% of his passes in all 3 games, averaged 10.3 yards per attempt, and threw 9 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. We all know what happened in the Super Bowl, but we'll go over it again. A lot of things contributed to the Falcons' loss, most notably some very questionable play calling once Atlanta had the huge lead. Secondly, part of what spurred the Patriots' comeback was this absolute whiff of a block by running back Devontae Freeman on Dante Hightower, which left Ryan wide open for a strip sack and gave the Patriots a very short field in the 4th quarter. By the way, Ryan had all the success he did in 2016, even while dealing with the 23rd best pass blocking offensive line in football, per Football Outsiders. After New England cut it to 1 score, Ryan seemed to right the ship a bit with his absolutely beautiful 27-yard throw and catch with Julio Jones. However, immediately after, Devontae Freeman got stuffed for a loss of 1, and then Ryan got left open for another sack, this time a loss of 12. After a holding penalty, Ryan couldn't convert a 3rd and 33 and only saw the ball again on a short drive with a few seconds left before overtime. On New England's opening 9-play drive of overtime, they didn't even see a 3rd down. It was as efficient a game-winning touchdown drive you'll ever see because Atlanta's defense was gassed. The Falcons had the 22nd ranked defense in football per Football Outsiders in 2016. Playing with horrible defenses is something Ryan has unfortunately probably gotten used to. In 2011, the Falcons defense ranked 4th in the league. Outside of that though, during Ryan's tenure, the next highest ranking per DVOA is when they finished 14th in 2012. He's only had a defense in the top half of the league 3 times in 12 seasons. Twice, in 2013 and 2014, has he played with a bottom 3 unit in football. That horrible defense in 2018 ruined what could have been another historic year for Ryan as he threw 35 touchdowns to just 7 picks for the 7-9 Falcons. Holding that Super Bowl loss over Ryan is astronomically stupid. Had his defense made one single stop, we'd be having an entirely different conversation right now. In fact, there wouldn't even be a discussion. Ryan would be viewed as an automatic lock for the Hall of Fame with an MVP and a ring under his belt. Also stupid is the fact that some people label Ryan as a choker due to this game. Not only is it dumb because he was clearly the least of Atlanta's problems, but also because of his already strong reputation as a clutch quarterback. If you're somebody who puts stock into that sort of thing, Matt Ryan should be your guy. They call him Matty Ice for a reason. He has 30 fourth quarter comebacks and 38 game-winning drives in his career, both of which are the 8th most all-time. They're both also the 4th most among active players, just behind Brady, Breeze, and Roethlisberger, all of whom have at least 4 more years of experience than Ryan. He's also got a strong playoff resume, completing 67.5% of his passes for 7.6 yards per attempt and 20 touchdowns against 7 interceptions in 10 games. As for the crowd that thinks Matt Ryan is only good because of Julio Jones, I point you to the fact that Ryan finished top 3 in QBR twice out of the 3 years he played before Jones was drafted. In 2013, when Jones only played 5 games due to injury, Ryan was 6th in QBR, and he even made a 1,000-yard receiver out of Harry Douglas. The same Harry Douglas who never had 500 yards in any of his prior 5 seasons. It's possible for both a quarterback and his receiver to be great. Look at Big Ben and Antonio Brown, Brady and Moss, Montana and Rice. You get the picture. Back to what Bomani said, he thinks that Falcons fans only think pretty good looks great because they've been stuck with mediocrity for so long. No. Zero allegiance to the Falcons here. In fact, I grew up a Steelers fan and have been blessed with great teams and great QB play, so I know what I'm talking about. More so, the thing here with Bomani that is more likely is that as a Falcons fan, he's been hurt too many times that he refuses to accept how good Ryan actually is, in fear of being burned again. Bomani is smarter than most of the population on almost every subject, but he's an eternal pessimist when it comes to the Falcons because he's let his fandom get in the way. There's no limit to how many quarterbacks can make it to the Hall of Fame at a certain time, as Bomani tried to claim. 19 times have there been 8 or more active quarterbacks that went on to make the Hall. In the early 70s, 3 times were there as many as 11 future Hall of Fame quarterbacks active. Ryan has played in an era where we've had the most widespread prolific QB play. Yet still, he's always near the top of the league despite all the stiff competition. For his era, he'll likely fall behind Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson, but after that, he might be the best bet to get into the Hall. That's only 6 guys ahead of him. There have been 35 instances where there have been 7 or more Hall of Fame quarterbacks active at a time. It's not unthinkable that Ryan could get in right behind these guys. The next players with the strongest arguments are Phillip Rivers, Tony Romo, and Eli Manning. Okay, that last one was a joke. Ryan is most often compared to Cam Newton in these discussions. The fact that they both won MVP in historic seasons before suffering a disappointing loss in the Super Bowl is often brought up. Cam was absolutely phenomenal in 2015. What he did with that group of receivers will never be forgotten. But he was playing with the 5th best defense per DVOA in football, something 2016 Ryan did not have the luxury of. Carolina's defense was third in yards per play and forced the most turnovers in the league by far, which gave Newton many short fields to boost his TD counts. In fact, 2015 is the only year that Newton had a higher PFF grade than Ryan. Newton ranked 5th while Ryan was just 7th. 2014 is the only other time Newton has ranked in the top 15 as he sat in 11th place. When it comes to QBR, Newton has never ranked higher than Ryan in his career. In fact, 2013 is the only year he's even come in the top 10, and he barely snuck in at 9th place, whereas Ryan was 6th. And yes, both of these statistics include rushing numbers. Ryan just has consistently been a better quarterback than Cam Newton has, and his highs have been higher. There is no comparison. For Ryan's first 8 seasons from 2008 to 2015, he shared a league with what is easily the most successful, prolific group of 5 quarterbacks to play for a long time together in NFL history, in Manning, Brady, Brees, Rodgers, and Roethlisberger. You could make cases for almost all of them being the greatest to ever play the position, too. The widespread opinion these days is that Brady is the GOAT. Personally, I would go with Peyton. Some think Rodgers is the most talented quarterback ever. Brees might end up as the best statistically. Ryan should not be punished for not being as good as these guys. It should be a testament to his skill, in fact, that he's consistently hung right with these guys year in and year out. Since Ryan entered the league in 2008, he is 5th in EPA per play, 3rd in success rate, and 4th in CPOE. Based on play since 2012, those numbers jump up to 3rd, 2nd, and 3rd respectively. Jumping to Ryan's best stretch of play from 2016 onwards, he has the best EPA in the league and is second only to Brees in CPOE. Ryan is not just a top 5 to 10 quarterback, as some like to claim. At his peak, he's been the best of the best for an extended time. Pro Football Reference has a Hall of Fame monitor which uses AV, Pro Bowls, All-Pros, championships, and various stat milestones to estimate a player's Hall of Fame chances. Ryan's mark of 91.12 is 19th among quarterbacks all time, ahead of current Hall of Famers like Kurt Warner, Ken Stabler, Joe Namath, Bob Greasy, Warren Moon, Len Dawson, Troy Aikman, and Jim Kelly. He's 6th among active quarterbacks. AV, otherwise known as approximate value, one of the marks mentioned that goes into the Hall of Fame monitor, is another Pro Football Reference derived statistic. It is exactly what the name sounds like. Among active players, Ryan currently has the 5th highest AV, behind only Brady, Brees, Rivers, and Rodgers. He is currently tied with Steve Young for the 22nd highest mark ever. All 21 players ahead of him are either current Hall of Famers, the active future Hall of Famers mentioned before, or Peyton Manning. It should go without saying that Ryan is ahead of numerous current Hall of Famers, quarterbacks or otherwise. When it comes to the general public, most people, including many Hall of Fame voters, will just look at standard box score or volume stats to determine Hall of Fame candidacy. Yet, even in those marks, Ryan again checks out. His 51,186 passing yards is currently the 10th highest total in league history, and he should pass John Elway for 9th place in his next game or two. Ryan is also 5th all-time in passing yards per game and 11th in adjusted net yards per attempt. He has the 11th most passing touchdowns ever, and again, he should pass Fran Tarkenton and jump in the top 10 next season, whenever there is a next season. Ryan has the 6th highest completion percentage ever and the 11th highest passer rating. He's already this high on the leaderboards of so many statistics that the general media value so much, and he's still only 35 years old. In an era where quarterbacks are playing longer than ever, Ryan's only going to continue climbing these charts. He's also managed to only miss 3 games due to injury in his career, despite his usually shoddy offensive line play, so he's durable. It's also not as if he's Eli Manning, just hanging on for the last half of his career, putting up empty stats. Ryan had a down year last year, but even that was still middle of the pack. He's just 1 season removed from a 35-7 touchdown to interception ratio. Even with many years ahead of him with few signs of a steep drop-off, Matt Ryan has already built a solid Hall of Fame resume. Despite playing keep-up thanks to what is consistently one of the worst defenses in football, while receiving play calls from one of the most incompetent coaching staffs outside of the 2 Shanahan years, And while playing behind what is also usually a poor pass-blocking offensive line and having few weapons to throw to outside of Julio Jones, Ryan has still been one of the absolute best quarterbacks in the league throughout his career. Despite playing in the most prolific era of passing ever with the highest amount of consistently great quarterbacks the league has ever seen, Ryan has stood strong right beside them all. With age, he's only gotten better and has even surpassed some of them, and has proven himself worthy of the top spot with a historic 2016 season. Ryan has been one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL for over a decade with extremely high highs, and he deserves to be recognized for that feat. Even if he retired today, Matt Ryan deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.